Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Dalton Baines. I'm the Head of Admissions and Business Development. Thank you for taking the time and effort to join us today. We're doing a quite intensive session today, a webinar on apprenticeships and how they will benefit you if you're a school leaver, if you're a parent or a carer and you're trying to advise your child. We hope this is going to be informative and it's going to give you some in-depth information about the benefits of looking at apprenticeship as a possible pathway for your child. If you are working in a school and you're using this as a resource, welcome. I hope you find this useful. The contents is here to help you. We're trying to give you as much information about apprenticeships. As you may know, it's in the public domain. The government is very keen to drive apprenticeships forward. It's something that they've put a lot of time and investment into. We as a college, we are very excited and enthusiastic about apprenticeships that we offer. And I'm joined today with my colleagues from the apprenticeship team and the business services team today. We'll be taking turns to go through the presentation today and give you some information. So do ask us loads of questions. We'll have an opportunity to answer questions at the end of the presentation. There is a opportunity for you to ask questions as part of the web chat. And so if you want to type those through, we will try to answer some of them as we're going through the apprenticeship slides, but you can also answer those at the end, and myself and all the hosts will try to answer those as best as we can. So what's on offer today? So we're going to go through some information about the types of apprenticeships available and what is an apprenticeship. That's going to be covered by my colleague Rena, who's the head of apprenticeships there. She's also going to talk about the kind of sectors and areas and the levels that we offer at the college. My colleague Nina from the business services team will be talking about the benefits of taking on an apprenticeship and why there should be a benefit to you and why you think that could be a possible pathway for you in the future. And Emma will be talking about the next steps and how you can actually apply for an apprenticeship. So pretty straightforward stuff. And at the end, we're going to do the Q&A session for you. As I said, apprenticeship is something that's obviously being pushed and encouraged by the government. So please take the time to think about some of the questions you want to ask us. We're here to help you. We're going to do that at the end. But obviously, you might find there's some other useful research resources available on the website. Please do check that out as well. All the courses, all the apprenticeships that we offer are available on the website, and there are fact sheets available to you, and you can access those anytime. Okay, without any further ado, I'm going to pass the baton on to my colleague Rena, who's going to take over and explain a bit more about what is an apprenticeship. Over to you, Rena.
Thank you, Daldrit. So I'm Rena Kainth, I'm the head of apprenticeships, and it gives me great pleasure today to talk to you about the apprenticeships we have to offer and also give you a bit more information about what an apprenticeship involves. So to become an apprentice, you've got to be over the age of 16, not already in full-time education, so you've got to have left school or not be registered to any other full-time education course, and you've got to be living in England. So an apprenticeship could be a starting point for you in your career, or it could be a change of career. But it could also be that you're in your existing job and it's something your current employer wants to support you in. So you're upskilling in your current job. So apprenticeship opportunities are open to a wide variety of people. You can have a previous qualification like a degree, and you can still start an apprenticeship, which has been a really positive change for us in the apprenticeship world. So what is an apprenticeship? It's a real job. It is a real full-time job that you have to take seriously, be committed to and be professional in. You'll learn, gain experience and get paid. So you'll learn at college, learn on the job, you'll gain experience from your employer and at college, and you'll get paid for it. You'll be an employee of the company that you work for with a contract of employment, just like any other employee that works for that company, and you'll get the benefits such as holiday leave, the things that you'd be entitled to. And by the end of the apprenticeship, you'll have the skills, knowledge and behaviours you need for your chosen career. And that's what's involved in the apprenticeship standards, which I'll explain a little bit more about. The length of your apprenticeship will vary depending on what programme you would choose to do and also what level. For instance, a level 2 apprenticeship could be a year and a half or 2 years. A level 3 apprenticeship could be 3 years. It all depends on the apprenticeship programme, the route that you choose. Your apprenticeship is funded from contributions made by the government and also your employer. So it's a really, really good opportunity where your employer is investing in your career and your future. So what does an apprenticeship standard look like? So many of you may have heard about apprenticeship frameworks. They actually became extinct, as I call them, in July 31st of last year. And now we've moved to standards. So you have something called initial assessment, which is carried out at the point that you show your interest and our business services team contact you. You'll have an initial assessment with someone trained in that industry. So it would be one of our assessors or trainers. And then you would, once the initial assessment is covered, the sign-up process takes place. Then you start on your apprenticeship. Your apprenticeship involves things like your training in the workplace with your employer or your mentors or your line manager, knowledge and skills that you would develop both at college and in the workplace, behaviours, which are things like team leading, using your initiative, and working confidently and independently by yourself. So all the things that you would be, you would expect to be learning in your working life. And then numeracy and literacy. So if you haven't got, your GCSEs, or you haven't got the grades that you would need to, that doesn't jeopardise your chance of doing an apprenticeship. We would support you as a college to make sure that you did functional skills with us. Then there's something called the 20% off the job. So when your employer agrees to taking you on an apprenticeship with us, they're also committing to giving you 20% of your working time for learning and development, so you can actually excel in your apprenticeship. Once all those things are covered throughout the duration of your apprenticeship, we come to something called the gateway. And the gateway is basically saying you have fulfilled all the skills, knowledge and behaviours, and the literacy and numeracy if you need it, and you do an endpoint assessment, which we like to call an EPA. It's a lot easier to say it that way. And the EPA is actually assessed by an independent assessor, so not the assessor that works with you throughout your apprenticeship, but through the endpoint assessment as an organisation. And then the EPA could involve various tasks or activities, normally 2 or 3 things. So it could be an online assessment, and then it could be a practical assessment. And all of those things become the endpoint assessment, and then you complete your apprenticeship. So it might sound like a lot to explain in a couple of minutes there, but it's actually the whole point of your apprenticeship, the duration is leading up to that endpoint assessment. So ensuring that you have learned all the skills that you need to be able to work within the trade that you've chosen to. So we've got some really, really good case studies here and some success stories of apprentices that have been very happy to explain their experiences and share their experiences with you today. So this is Sophie. Sophie is one of our electrical installation apprentices, and she chose to do an apprenticeship because she didn't have time to attend evening classes because she has young children. So this fitted in with her schedule perfectly. She's able to go to work in the day, attend 1 day of college a week within those working hours, and develop the skills that she wants to. And she hopes that one day that she can start her own company and be her own boss. And she's doing very well at the moment. And this is Dennis, who works for a company called Trident, who actually look after cars for Mercedes-Benz. So he spends a lot of his time working on Mercedes cars, which he absolutely loves. He's doing our level 3 light vehicle light vehicle service and maintenance technician apprenticeship, which is in the motor vehicle industry. And he's really loving the fact that he is getting that hands-on experience, coming to college. And for Dennis, when I spoke to him, he loves that combination of learning on the job and being at college, and he's learning all those practical skills. And actually for him, his apprenticeship is a push for him to get a full-time position and a permanent position at Trident. And what he's really interested in is learning about the newer technology in motor vehicle, which is electric and hybrid technology. This is Georgia. So she's in our level 2 hairdressing apprenticeship, and she again really enjoys the hands-on experience, but she likes that break from the salon to be able to come into college 1 day a week, meet other apprentices in her class that are working with her. And she said that she's made some really, really good friends in the salon. And the reason she chose to do an apprenticeship with us was specifically because of our reputation on the hairdressing apprenticeship as well. And she heard that, she'd always heard very positive things. And she hopes that one day she'll be able to open her own independent salon. And this is the final sort of success story we're sharing with you today. So this is Hannah, and this is a real success story. So Hannah decided a little bit later, in life at in her sort of early mid 30s that she wanted to get into a carpentry industry. So she's currently studying the level 2 carpentry and joinery apprenticeship. And again, she's enjoying that hands-on experience, that real experience that you get within the industry of working in carpentry. And she's very local to the college, so that's one of her reasons. But she'd also heard about our good success rate with apprentices, and she knew somebody that had studied with us before, so that was kind of giving her the push to do the apprenticeship with us. And after completing the apprenticeship, she's hoping to gain more experience but also work within the sector more. So now you've heard a little bit about some of our apprentices and their sort of experience with us, and positive experience as well. These are sort of the apprenticeships that we have to offer. We have a variety of level 2 and level 3 apprenticeships. We currently offer one level 4 apprentice, but what you'll see from looking at this is that some of our apprenticeships actually offer that platform to go on to a higher level. For instance, carpentry level 2. So if you were to do a carpentry level 2 and you did really well, and which we hope you would, and your employer was willing to support you further, you could then move on to a level 3 carpentry. And the same applies to things like engineering and auto care, so the motor vehicle industry. So we have a clear route of progression in our apprenticeships. So that's kind of what we have to offer. So please do, if you want to take a picture of the screen, have a look at it, just so you've got a clear idea on what attracts you there. So just to explain, a lot of people ask what the levels, what is the alternative of a level? So a level 2 apprenticeship is the alternative of a GCSE. A level 3 is A level, and then anything higher than that, 4, 5, and 6, is foundation degree and above. So, you could start off at level 2, which could be a GCSE level, and then progress to level 3, which is an A level. So there's a lot of people get concerned about apprenticeships and think that there's no alternative of them, and that they're not the same as doing GCSEs and A levels. And yes, they're not the same, but they actually have the same level of qualification. So if that is a concern for anyone, please do not worry. And again, if there are any questions you've got in regards to that, please do ask.
Thank you, Rena. Thank you very much. I mean, one thing I kind of wanted to share with you there was that it was so nice to see from the case studies that we have there, such a variety of subject areas. And obviously, as you can see, apprentices, it's not gender specific. It's all about you doing what you are passionate about. You can see from 2 of our apprentices there, they've taken on a career that may be predominantly deemed to be male dominated. But you can see it's very open to all. It's very important that if you are passionate and you're interested in a particular future career, do your research and make sure you obviously express interest for the application process, and we will assess you for your suitability. But the key thing to remember is the relationship you have with your employer. They're recruiting you. That's the most important. You're making a success of this because you're working with partnership with your employer. The other thing I wanted to pick up was Rena mentioned about the assessor. So if you've never heard of the terminology assessor before, assessor is a person who comes to your workplace, assesses your program of study, so what you're going to be learning as part of your apprenticeship. So what we call apprenticeship is what we call is a vocational program. So vocational means it's very hands-on, very practical. All the apprenticeships that we offer that Rena's referred to from intermediate, level 2 to level 3, and even higher education, the higher level courses that are indicated in this table, you will be assessed by and supported by an assessor. They come to your employment site. They'll engage with you. They'll help you with your projects, your portfolio, and get you really ready for what that last stage is, the endpoint assessment. That's very important. So you're always going to have support. You're always going to have a point of contact when you're doing an apprenticeship. And that's whether you're doing it with us or any other provider. That relationship is really key. So yeah. In a relationship or apprenticeship, there's 3 people, aren't there, Rena? So it's yourself as a student, as the apprentice. There's the employer who's employing you. It's looking to give you a job opportunity, wants you to learn the core skills and get the practical experience at the workplace. And finally, the training provider, which is us, obviously us, the college. And we're there to support you to get the theoretical and get the experience and the practical side, so you can competently pass your apprenticeship and be successful. And hopefully the aim is the employer will see that skill set and offer you from level 2 to level 3.
Yeah. And it's also key to mention your assessor is not just, you know, going to come out in the workplace and, you know, do an observation of you in the workplace. They will be with you throughout that journey. So they'll act as a mentor and coach too. So assessor, they'll either be your assessor or skills coach. We've got 2 titles for them at the moment. But like Daljit said, their aim is to get you ready for that endpoint assessment so you pass. And there's 3 sort of gradings you get at the end of your apprenticeship. So it's either a pass, merit or distinction. So obviously you want to aim high and aim for that distinction. But even to get a pass or a merit on an apprenticeship is absolutely brilliant. So that's what the assessor is working towards with you throughout the duration of your apprenticeship.
Yeah, thank you, Rina. And just one thing I wanted to point out on this slide, I think you mentioned it, but worth picking up. When you're applying for apprenticeship, if you don't have maths and English, if you don't have a grade 4 and above, what's the options there? What happens if you don't have maths and English?
So if you don't have maths and English, it doesn't jeopardize your position of getting an apprenticeship with us at all. What that does mean is, though, we will support you as a college, as a training provider, to get the necessary maths and English you need. So there's a certain level of maths and English that you have to have or be able to achieve as part of the apprenticeship, and that is mandatory. And I know that for a lot of people, doing maths and English again is not always appealing and can be a little bit of a put off. I know if I had to do maths again, I wouldn't enjoy it. But you know, what I can say is we do support all of our apprentices with maths and English, and you would then do the required level of functional skills in either maths or English or both, and we have tutors that would be teaching those online with you. So, and there's lots of resources available. So if you haven't got those GCSE grades or previous functional skills, then please do not worry, we will support you through that.
Thank you, Rina, that's very important. So the development of the standards, and what Rina was referring to, which is all the course provision that we have, all the apprenticeships that are on offer, our standards, were designed by employers. Okay, that's important. You know, the government put a lot of time and investment in to develop these standards, and they spoke to the employers, asked them what kind of skills you want, what kind of qualifications you want, and they built these standards. So the maths and English was an integral part of that. A lot of employers came back and said that maths and English is important. So if you think about the subjects that we're talking about, you think about business, you think about domestic heating, all these areas requires those fundamentals. So as Rina rightly said, you can't shy away from it. It's something that's required. It's something that's going to be a barrier to your employment going forward, and potentially for your progression into your role as well. So you may start at an intermediate level 2 apprenticeship, but if you want to be successful, you want to go higher, you want to go into level 3 or even a higher apprenticeship and get into some sort of senior role like a manager or team leader, you really do need to make sure you crack that. You must get this maths and English. So don't worry if you don't have it at the moment, or you're a bit nervous that you're not going to get the targeted grades or the predicted grades. Just what we're saying is we will build that into the program for you, but be prepared to put the time and energy in. That's so important. Thank you for that, Rina. The last thing I wanted to just say on, just before we move on to Nina there about the benefits is, if you're thinking about doing an apprenticeship and you're trying to think, what is the difference? What's the difference about doing apprenticeship than maybe going into college? The main difference is obviously you are in a contract of employment. You have an employer who's going to release you to go to the college and do this course as a part-time and develop the skills and qualifications. So that is the main difference. So you may be thinking apprenticeship could be the way forward with you, and if you get an employer, that's fantastic. We'll talk about how to get an apprenticeship later. But also remember that it might be also useful at this moment to also, as a backup, make sure you make an application for full-time of the same course as a reserve, just in case you don't get the necessary necessary employment in time to start the apprenticeship. Just something to bear in mind. As a backup, it's a good idea to apply for the full-time version as well. Okay, so I'm going to move over to my colleague Nina, who's going to go into a bit more details about the benefits. Over to you, Nina.
Thank you, Daljit. Hello, everybody, and greetings from the business services team. I'm just going to go through some of the benefits of undertaking an apprenticeship. A lot has been covered by Rina and Daljit, so I'll try my best not to repeat everything they've said. And then we'll move on to Emma, who will go through the process of what you would need to do if you wanted to apply for an apprenticeship with us. So as you can see, I've listed a few of the salient points, which I think, you know, some of the main things that we get asked from people that potentially want to go on an apprenticeship, or parents that call up the college and ask, you know, what is it about? What are the benefits of doing an apprenticeship as opposed to going, you know, into sixth form perhaps, or a full-time course that Daljit mentioned a little while ago. So I think Rena did touch on this, and so did Daljit. So it's an opportunity to earn while you learn. So you are employed with a contract with an employer. So you get all the same benefits that you would if you're employed outside of an apprenticeship. But you also get the benefit of going to college 1 day a week in some apprenticeship offers. You have a coach, mentor, assessor, whatever you want to call it, because there's lots of different names for it now. But I think this college uses assessors, coaches and mentors, I believe. And pretty much that's person stays with you throughout the duration of your apprenticeship to support and guide you through the whole process. You also get apprenticeships are now recognised as national qualifications. Some standards have qualifications attached to them, so you will get like the traditional NVQ, for example, in some of the trade apprenticeships that we offer, like carpentry. As Daljit also mentioned, the new standards that have been rolled out, I think it was a couple of years ago now that they've been in place, but they were all designed by industry professionals. So everything that's gone into the standards is exactly what employers in those particular industries have asked to be put into those standards. So you are meeting the knowledge, skills and behaviours for that particular standard that you would be doing the apprenticeship in. So you know, you're pretty much learning the skills the employer wants you to actually learn. So that's definitely a plus point if you're looking to have a career within that field and looking to hopefully get a full-time job at the end of your apprenticeship with that particular employer. Again, you know, you gain real work experience. It improves your employability because you're going to be probably having for anything from about 15 months up to 3 years in a working environment and picking up all those skills that you would when you're working in a job, you know, learning how to work with your colleagues, developing your skill set, your communication skills, your teamwork, all those kind of things that were all embedded into that environment when you actually go to work, in addition to going to college as well. And you know, you can discover things that your earning potentials, for example. I think statistically people that go on to do degree apprenticeships after an initial apprenticeship, they earn on average about 117,000 more over their career than they would if they've just gone through doing A levels and things like that. So that is definitely a plus point to look out for. And I think Rena mentioned right at the beginning as well about apprenticeships are no longer just for your 16 to 24-year-olds. They're also available to people that are already in employment with employers. So the employers can use funding for that's available through the government to actually upskill their staff. So for example, that can open up the window for progression opportunities. For example, you know, on the completion of your apprenticeship, you might get promoted into a different role, and it could open up other avenues. It might impact your salary, for example. So so there's definitely lots of different benefits that come with doing an apprenticeship, and we're more than happy to talk to you about them in more detail. But like I said, I think a lot of the stuff that's on here has been covered previously. So I will pass you over to Emma, who's going to talk to you a little bit about what the process is in the college through the business services team, how you can apply for a particular apprenticeship, and how that works.
Thank you, Nina. Hi everyone, my name's Emma. I work in business services alongside Nina, and I'm going to talk you through step by step now actually getting on to your apprenticeship. So the first thing that you're probably interested in is how to find your apprenticeship. So as you've seen on the previous slides, there's lots of different apprenticeships available, lots of different employer types ranging from, you know, the large corporate businesses to smaller companies. You need to do a bit of research really and find out what apprenticeship course really most interests you. once you've kind of got an idea, the place to start would be to have a look on the National Apprenticeship Service website. This really is the place to go if you're looking for an apprenticeship. It's really good. You can set up an alert, you can filter the results by location, the type of course you want to do, you know, different types of things that are important to you. Make sure you put as much information in, and it will kind of give you a list of the vacancies that are open at the moment. If there's no vacancies on there, set up an alert, get yourself registered on there, and any vacancy that comes on will be pinged over to you. One thing I would say is just try and make sure you've got like an appropriate email address. So try to remember that your school email address probably isn't going to be working after you finish school. So set yourself up, you know, an email address that you're happy to give to employers, and it's appropriate, basically. Once you've searched and got your results, again, I would really say research is important. So if you find a vacancy you like the look of, have a look at the company, have a look at the company website, any social media that they've got, have a look, find out where it's located, because you're going to have to make sure you can get there every day, you can get there easily. The advert itself will give you details about the working hours, what the rate of pay will be, information about the duties, you know, any skills and qualifications they need. Everything will be on the advert itself. But I definitely would say when you're looking for an apprenticeship, you've got to do lots of research. Make sure it is the right thing for you, and think about the future and where it might lead you. You know, don't just apply for everything. Make sure you're doing a bit of research. The second thing is if you've got any contacts yourself. So, you know, have a think about anyone you might know that has a business. You know, if you're interested in plumbing, for example, do you know anyone who has a plumbing business that might be able to take you on? And we're happy to have a chat with them about taking on apprentices. If they're not sure about anything, you know, we're here to talk to. And then we also have a candidate pool as well. So, you know, it's always worth giving us a call and having a chat with us, and we can add you to our candidate pool. Then once you you've done all that, you've registered, you've had to think about if you know anyone, you then need to move on to applying for an apprenticeship. You would probably do this through the apprenticeship website. All of the adverts will have a closing date, so please bear that in mind. But also I wouldn't hang around until the closing date, because a lot of companies, you know, if they do find someone good, they will offer to them before the closing date. So just bear that in mind. Don't hang around. Once you've figured out what you want to do, try to apply for as many relevant roles as you can. Don't just apply for one and then wait and see what happens. Give yourself the best chance by applying to as many relevant ones as you can. So it's going to increase your chances. But make sure each application is sort of tailored to that vacancy and tailored to the company you're applying for. So look at the skills that vacancy needs, you know, look at what that business does, and talk about what your experience is, and, you know, what you want for the future and why you're right for that particular role. Try and answer the questions as fully as you can. Use spell check, you know, don't abbreviate, make it, you know, come across as professionally as you can, and just check everything, because silly mistakes can sometimes go against you. You know, think about what your strengths are, think about what you want to learn, you know, why you're right for the role. Be as honest as you can be, and yeah, just fill it out as fully as you can, and make sure you're checking your application. Moving on then to, you know, fingers crossed, once you've applied, you'll then be invited for interview. So the first port of call will be a telephone interview usually, whether it's a small company or a large corporate business. A telephone interview is generally the first port of call. So it's really important, obviously, you give the right first impression. Make sure you're somewhere you're not going to be disturbed, and make sure it's, you know, nice and quiet. Make sure you've got some notes about that company so you can kind of refer to them. You know, they'll want to know really why you've applied for that particular role. You know, what was it about the company that you liked? What was it about the course that you're interested in? So it's your chance really to stand out. You've got to talk about why you're right for the job. You've really got to sell yourself, if you like. from there, you'll usually be invited in to spend some time with the company. So if it's a small, smaller business, you might go and spend a day on site with them, looking at how their day is structured, look at what they do. Sometimes there'll be a second interview, but after that, if everything's gone right, hopefully you'll be offered a position. But obviously it's your chance as well to make sure that this is the right role for you. So make sure you've got lots of questions, and make sure that you walk away fully informed, and it is going to be something you're going to commit to, whether it's a year-long course, whether it's 4 years. You've got to make sure it's right for you. And then from there, you will hopefully be offered a position, and then we'll set you up an interview with the course assessor. Again, that will be a telephone interview. They will tend to talk you through kind of what your previous learning is, if you've got any previous experience, if you did work experience at school, or if you've done anything at all that you think is relevant, it's worth talking through with them. They'll want to know why you want to do the course, and if you've thought about your future career aspirations, where you see this taking you. That they'll want to know all about that. And they'll also want to find out a bit about you, what your hobbies are, what you're interested in, and if you need any additional support from the college, that's the chance to talk it through with your assessor. And obviously, we're here at any point in the process. If you need support, if you need any help, if you're stuck on anything at all, we're here to help you. We can talk you through the online application if you're stuck on anything. If you're feeling a bit nervous about the interview you're going to have, just pick up the phone. We'll talk you through it. We want you to do the best you can, and obviously we want you to start the apprenticeship. So we're always here on the end of the phone, so you can pick up the phone and get in touch, give you information you need. And yeah, so that's the contact details on the screen now for the business services team. There's a contact number there that you can dial through, and it will bring you straight through to one of us, and an email address too. So if you wanted to make a note of that, that's probably the first point of call. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Nina. That was really helpful. Just coming, thinking about some of the things you guys were talking about, it's really quite it always surprises me when I listen into these conversations as well. I think when Nina was talking about some of the benefits and saying that, your opportunity to earn over 100,000 more than a person who may not have done hands-on practical experience really tells you the benefits of some of the reasons why to take on an apprentice. But think about it from an employer point of view as well, because the employer is investing time and energy for you to go and do the apprenticeship. They're letting you go to college, do the qualification, and also they're teaching the necessary skills. So for them, it's going to be a real important opportunity for you to be trained the way they like. You're going to have the necessary aptitude. You're going to have, obviously, as Nina mentioned, some of these transferable skills that we sometimes take for granted, simply communicating, the etiquette of, talking to a customer, working in a team environment, having those core skills, which are not necessarily always easy to pick up if you're just doing academic courses. It's one of the things I think employers always want and always encourage, is this ability to work, because when you do go forward in the future, you don't pick the people you work with. You must be able to work with them in a professional manner. You do need to know the etiquette of how to respond to emails in a professional manner, have the communication skills to talk to somebody face to face, and be prepared to obviously deal with things such as complaints and so forth, but handling in a professional manner. So I think what Nina was referring to about the skills there, the transferable skills you pick up in a work environment, which is what apprenticeship really is obviously going to be invaluable to you, and that gives you a really advantage over other people. Rina, you want to say anything there?
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things I always say to every apprentice, and if you were on our event on Friday as well, I know some of you have joined this one too, but I always say the same thing at inductions or when apprentices start: treat your apprenticeship like the world's longest job interview. You are literally trying to excel and make yourself indispensable. You've you need to be committed, be professional, and, you know, treat it like a real job. And if anyone ever tells you you've taken the easy route out by doing an apprenticeship, believe me, you haven't. You have taken a route that is, one, very challenging, but very, very rewarding, because you're in a full-time job. You are in a, you know, not technically 9 to 5 with some industries, but you are in a full-time 9 to 5 job. You're studying at college, you're doing work independently, so you have no way taken the easy way out by doing an apprenticeship. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going to university. That is perfectly great for some people, and going to college to do a full-time course, but don't ever think that an apprenticeship is an easy route out, because it's actually not. It's really, really hard work, and it takes a lot of commitment and dedication as well. And we're all very, very passionate about apprenticeships. So, you know, make the most of the opportunity if you do get onto an apprenticeship, and be a professional within that industry, and it will take you far, believe me.
Thank you, Vina. And I've just wanted to comment on some of the things that Emma mentioned there about, you know, it's important. Some of the things that it's a competitive market out there, you know, trying to apply for apprenticeships is tough. So if you do know people, you know, family members, friends who might have an opportunity, they might have a company, they have opportunities about taking you on as an apprentice, please obviously speak to them. We find sometimes the best thing to do is network. Talk to people you know, especially people who might be working in the sector that you would aspire to become an apprentice in. They may not be necessarily familiar with how to do apprenticeship if they've never taken it on board. We are more than happy to guide an employer through that process. As a parent or carer, you might be watching this and thinking, you know what, maybe I can take apprentice on. Maybe I've got an organization that's, you know, that I would like to support the local community, take on somebody and support them and develop them and nurture them in the future. If you're interested, please contact the business services team. We're here to support you. We can guide you through the process, the legal elements, how you develop a contract. We do, funny enough, we have an apprenticeship for employer webinar coming up in the future. So please do obviously register and attend that. But the one thing that Emma did mention was about the commitment. These apprenticeships are contracts of employment. They are things that you take very seriously, and you must be prepared to take it for that duration. So some of these are 18 months, some of them can be nearly 2 to 3 years long, 3 years long. So you need to be ready and prepared to take on that commitment. No different going on to university and doing a degree. You know, there's an opportunity to learn, get the qualification, get the expertise, get the knowledge, and become a, you know, a competent professional in the future. But you need to commit. So if you're not sure, obviously don't go forward with an apprenticeship straight away. Go back to what we originally said, research, talk to people, maybe talk to somebody who's doing a similar role. Ask them what are the positives, what are the negatives of the role, really get a feel for it, and then be prepared. Maybe even do some work experience. That's another way of trying out something that you might be interested in. You know, volunteer is a great way of picking up some of the skills that you might be and trying out something that you've never done before, but you might be interested in. Because once you sign up with an employer, they expect you to be a professional and you are their employee, okay? You may be deemed as an apprentice, but you are an employee, and therefore you must follow those procedures. So it's a big step, but it's well worth it, and definitely something we would encourage you to do. Okay, anything else from the panel before we go over to questions?
No, thank you. Thanks, Daljit.
Thank you, everyone. So I hope you found this useful. There's loads of information there. The aim of this particular webinar was to give you an overview about the apprenticeship service that we have on offer at the college. There's more information on the website, as I mentioned before. But at the moment, I'm going to stop and see if anybody's got any questions for us. Fiona, are you still there?
I am still here, Daljit.
Thank you.
I just, a few questions have come through, which I can run through for you. Somebody's asked about, do we do apprenticeships at Windsor College, or are they all out of Langley?
So all of our apprenticeships are out of Langley. We have a few that are actually remote apprenticeships, so they're delivered online, like IT, digital marketing and junior content producer and business admin, but all of the other apprenticeships are run from Langley campus, yes. Okay, thank you. And you mentioned earlier about the GCSEs. I just wondered perhaps you could repeat that, what happens around GCSE English and Maths, what's required at what level, and then how you can retake. So if we look at old style GCSEs, so if you've got a grade A to C, then you would be exempt from functional skills. If we look at them in new styles, it would have to be grade 4 and above, so between 4 and 9. So anything below that, or anything that wasn't an A to C, you would need to do functional skills. And depending on what apprenticeship program you do, it would be a level 1 or level 2.
Okay, thank you. Are there certain GCSE requirements to apply for an apprenticeship?
What do you mean, sorry?
Do you have to have achieved a certain number of GCSEs to be able to apply?
It's
for
maths
an
and
apprenticeship?
English, sorry, it's just maths and English. So as long as you've got the maths and English for your GCSEs, then those are the ones that are applicable for the functional skills.
But if you wanted, say, to apply for a level 2 hair and beauty, is there an entry requirement in terms of what you're expected to have?
There are entry requirements depending on what apprenticeship program you want to go on to. Specific to which apprenticeship you would be interested in, the entry requirements are actually on our website. So you could have a look at which apprenticeship program you're interested in, and then it will tell you the entry requirements. All of them have different but quite similar entry requirements as well.
Okay, thank you. And then just a general question is around finding an employer. I know you talked a bit about that. Maybe can the college help with that?
Yeah, so we have a database of employers, and we also have very, very good, and we have dedicated employers that have been working with us for many years now. So it's not always easy to find an employer for an apprentice, but the business services team, in terms of Nina and Emma, they work really hard with our apprentices. And even, you know, if an apprentice you know, struggles and loses their job, the team help them find another employer. So we do have a really, really good database of employers. So in that, which is where I think Emma was talking about, we keep apprentices' details on file as well. We have employers' details on file. So we have specific employers that sometimes tell us, I'm looking for an apprentice. So it's always worth letting us know. If you don't have an employer yourself and you're interested in an apprenticeship, it's always worth us keeping your details, because we may have an employer already looking for an apprentice.
Great, thank you. And how should you apply for an apprenticeship?
Okay, I'm going to let Emma answer this one again now, because she explained it so well earlier.
Okay, so the first place I would tell you to look is on the government website. So the National Apprenticeship Service has all the current open vacancies are on there. So that's the first thing to do, really, is have a look on there. Have a look at some of the vacancies. I think, yeah, it's not the address is there on the slide. Set up an alert, register your details, set up an alert, keep looking on there, and that's probably the place to go when you're looking for a vacancy. If you wanted to get in touch with us, as Rena mentioned, it's always worth just giving us a call. You know, we can obviously let you know about any employers that we work with that might have mentioned that they're looking before they get a chance to advertise it. And also, if you know anyone yourself that might take on an apprentice or potentially is interested in learning about apprenticeships and what the benefit is to their business, you know, anything like that, if you know someone who has a business that's sort of similar to what you want to do, it's always worth having a chat with them as well. So that they're the ways I would say to apply. Hopefully that
could I just jump in there just to let you know, thank you, Emma, that the college website itself, if you go onto it and go to the business services section, you'll find some links to current vacancies that we're promoting for our employers. So if you are particularly interested in kind of communicating with stuff that organizations that we're working with at the moment, this is a link, so it actually links into the National Apprenticeship main website, but it just shows you the kind of things that we have in the local area that we as a college have worked very hard to build relationships with. So if you're interested in the current vacancies listed, and obviously you think you might want to go and apply for that, and you want some help, as Emma mentioned, about doing interview techniques, obviously you can contact us because we are very familiar with that organisation. They still obviously need to go through the process of interviewing. They need to assess you and actually interview and make an offer, but we can certainly give you some additional support and help if you need it.
Thank you. Also, somebody's asked a very good question. What sets the Windsor Forest Colleges Group apart from any other colleges? Why should we apply for an apprenticeship with you?
Well, firstly, I would say we've got some really, really highly experienced skills coaches and assessors. They've been working in industry for many years, not just in industry, but working in apprenticeships. They have the industry knowledge and experience, so they can share their knowledge, their expertise with you. We also have amazing facilities, and that's not, you know, I'm not just saying that because I work at the college, but just one visit to Langley, which obviously you can't do at the moment physically, but if you have a look on our website at some of the images that we use for our marketing purposes, we've got excellent facilities, you know, motor vehicle, we've got amazing workshops in motor vehicle carpentry, in our painting and decorating, our hairdressing salon, which is an actual real salon where we have customers come in to book appointments, so it's a real working business as well. We've got some brilliant facilities alongside highly experienced assessors, skill coaches and lecturers, and that's one of the things that really, really impressed me when I first joined the college as well.
Thank you. Do young people have to wait until they've got their GCSE results before they apply for an apprenticeship?
Yes, because like I said right at the beginning of this presentation, you cannot be in any other full-time education. So if you're waiting for GCSE results, you still technically in full-time education. However, you could put your query forward and inform us that you're waiting for your results, and you know, but you can start as soon as you've got those results in and you finish school or college.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the other points I'd like to make when somebody asked why our college as well, in terms of our success rates, in terms of standards, we've had some really, really good grades. We've got 100% success rate in our business admin apprenticeship. We were one of the first colleges in the southeast of England to have our carpentry apprentices go through endpoint assessment, which is EPA, before Christmas, and all of those that went through successfully with merits and passes. So, you know, we've got some really good success stories amongst some of those that you've heard about today as well.
Great, thank you. I don't have any other questions coming through. I didn't know if you wanted to wrap up at all, Daljit or Rena.
Yeah, if you have any other questions, if you're anything like me, you always think of questions afterwards, please do contact the team. I think the contact details were right at the end. Here they are again. You know, send any questions and queries through to us. You know, we're always happy to answer them. If you have any other queries, please do ask.
There is one question just popped in actually, just as you were speaking, which is around the pay. How much do apprentices get paid?
So this is something that is discussed with the employer. So, you know, it varies basically. I wouldn't be able to answer that with an exact answer right now for you, because it all depends on what that minimum requirement is that the employer is willing to meet. So, but, you know, again, you can send us an email, you can tell us what sort of industry you're interested in, and we could give you some sort of idea of what other apprentices within that field, you know, may be getting paid, but we can't guarantee what that figure would be exactly today.
Okay, thank you. And also, how much annual leave would you get normally on an apprenticeship?
Again, it depends on your employer. So you would have a full-time contract with your employer. So if, you know, some employers give 25 days leave, some employers give 28. It all depends on the employer, because you are like any other employee that's working for that company.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any more questions coming through, so we're coming to the end of the session. So I don't know if you guys want to wrap up.
Yep, thank you for that, Fiona. Okay, so thank you everybody who's been joining me today, the team. Nina, thank you very much for your input there. Rena, thank you, and Emma. I hope you found this really useful and informative. Like I said, there's loads of information on our website. There is a virtual tour actually available for Langley. So if you do want to, just referring to what Bina was saying, if you do want to have a feel for what's available and what, you know, if you haven't been to Langley College before, please do have a look. As I said before, there's the vacancies that we are looking after are on our website as well, and you can go in and look at those pieces of information. And all the vacancies that you'll be applying for will indicate in some shape or form the type of salary that you might get, whether it's a salary over the year or whether it's going to be an hourly rate. And then obviously the organizations will give you further information as part of the interview. If you are successful and you do obtain an apprenticeship and you're talking to the employer, and obviously you want to do the apprenticeship through us as a training provider, as the college, the one thing you can do is actually go on our college website, select the apprenticeship that you're interested in, and make sure you are clear with that. So one of the things that we always get is, you know, what's the difference between carpentry, joinery, and site carpentry? So the fact sheet will give you things like breakdown. You can actually make an application, and we will obviously submit that application and actually look at your details and get you ready for an interview, as Emma said, with the assessor. And then we can actually contact that employer and guide them through the apprenticeship process, because they may not be connected or tied to a training provider, and we're there to help and support them. We cover the range as far as Berkshire, Surrey, Hillingdon, you know, we go as far as even Oxford. So we have a very large footprint in the area, and we're more than happy to support our employers with that process. So do take that into consideration. I hope you found it informative. The team is always here to help and support you. And once this webinar is finished, do keep an eye out for any future webinars by going to the website. We've always got some events coming up you can register for. And if you're a potential employer looking to take apprentice on, please register for the event that's taking place later this week. Thank you for your time, and good luck.